Hello and welcome back. If you are joining us for the first time, my name is Brady. This is Be All In Sports. If you're returning, thank you very much for joining us once again. If you're new, hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think in the comments section. We are going to break down UFC 314. That's right. It's finally going to be here this next weekend. We didn't have a great card this last weekend. We went 5-7 with our picks, so not what I was expecting, and some of my biggest, most dependable fighters did not come through for me. Hello, Joe Anderson Brito. But to the ones that did, thank you. Nothing too detrimental this weekend, but we didn't have anything that I can really boast about. So again, we'll get right back on it this next weekend and hopefully put out some winners. I will let you know right now, my bets are going to be consisting of only 3 fights for the most part right now. I'll throw some fun ones out there. I've got kind of something that I'm going to try this next card just to see how it goes. I'm kind of digging those dollar bets. I know that people tell you don't throw in those long parlays, which I totally get it. But hey, it's fun. If you're only throwing $1, you can go out and spend $1 on a candy bar or something like that, and you're going to eat that. So you might as well just eat it, trying to make $1,000, $2,000, whatever you can get it up to. But hey, we are going to break down this full UFC 314 fight card. We got Alexander Volkanovski taking on Diego Lopes in the main event. That's going to be a banger. It's going to be for that vacant featherweight title, which, Ilia Topuria is moving on to lightweight. We're probably going to have an announcement that night as well. About his next opponent might be the Charles Oliveira angle is possibly where we're going to see him fight in the lightweight. I think it all depends on what Islam Makhachev is going to do, if he's going to possibly move up in weight, depending on the outcome of the Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena fight. We'll kind of see how that plays out. But in all honesty, I've already got my pick in for that one. And I think Islam is probably going to be staying in the lightweight division if he is depending on Bilal to lose. So that's just kind of what I'm seeing. But there's always that case of Bilal actually following through and making it a boxing match instead of an MMA fight. So we're going to see how he plays it. We're going to see what we can get into. But I am going to hold off no longer, and we're going to get into UFC 314, breaking down this card. It's going to be a fun one. I'm pretty excited. There's those ending 3 fights I've been looking forward to them for a while for various reasons. So I won't hesitate any longer. I won't hold this up. We will get right into the cards. And I did once again put out a little slideshow presentation this time. I've added a little bit more to it to give a little bit more information that I'll talk about throughout the whole thing anyway. So first up in the prelims, the women's bantamweight division, we're going to have Nora Cornell taking on Haley Cowan. Right now, Cornell sitting at a -175, Cowan a +145 as the underdog. Cornell is 8-2, Cowan 7-3. The one thing that I'm going to tell you right now is there's no real size disadvantage between the two. Cornell does have some pretty decent stand-up abilities, Cowan as well, and Cowan does have some submission losses or submission wins on her record as well, and some sub losses. But one thing I'm going to point out is that Haley Cowan hasn't been in the octagon in about almost a 2-year period. I very, very highly doubt that she's going to come right in and pick up where she left off. I don't know the circumstances of why she hasn't been in there in so long, but I know that Cornell has been in there in the last 6 months. She did suffer a loss to Jacqueline Cavalcante, I believe. But Cowan's last loss was to Jamie Lynn Horth, I believe. And Jamie Lynn Horth is pretty tough, and I think Cowan is still a tough fighter. And Cornell, I think, is just going to be too much on the feet. I think the one path to victory here is going to be if Cowan can get this to the ground, which it's possible that she can, but I think Cornell is going to be able to get this back to the feet if she does. And I'm going to trust just the higher level of competition throughout her career and the fact that she has had more octagon time. She's obviously been training, and not saying that Cowan hasn't been training, but I just trust her a little bit more as far as being in there and being ready to go. So I'm going to go Nora Cornell on this. I'm definitely going to be looking at this one. But again, I think this is one that it's going to be going to decision. And at that point, you always have to kind of wonder, what are the judges going to see? This weekend, we just saw something crazy. Even though I was picking Valentine to win the matchup with him and Therese Finney. One judge, I don't know if he was mad or what was going on, but he actually scored it all 3 rounds for Valentin, and I completely don't agree with that. I think it was a clean sweep for Therese Finney. So you always got to wonder where the judges are going to lie with stuff like this. So I am going to go Nora Cornell, but I will tell you, this is one of those fights that you may want to be careful, because if Haley Cowan does come out, she can get it to the ground and get a little bit of control time, it could be a different story as far as how the outcome of this plays. But I have to go with the better fighter. Next up in the prelims, we have a middleweight bout between Tresean Gore and Marco Tulio. Tresean Gore sitting at that plus 285 underdog. On all this is on DraftKings, by the way. Marco Tulio sitting at the minus 360 favorite. Gore coming in at the 5-2 record. Tulio 13-1. His last loss was coming, I believe, back in 2018. So, and it was by knockout. So he hasn't faced the losses, and if you remember right, he did have his first bout that he had in the UFC, within the UFC framework, was that Contender Series bout where he did have the win, but he did not get the contract, and then he ended up going back to LFA, got another win there, came back to the Contender Series, and then was given a contract his next time up. And then when he came in on his first match, he faced Ihor Potieria and ended up knocking him out in the first round. Tresean Gore is on that 2-fight winning streak. Now, how much I can put into those wins, I'm not really sure. You guillotine Josh Fremd, which you're no longer in the UFC, and then Antonio Tricoli. That dude is just he looks the part, but he has no skills once it gets there, it doesn't seem. And Tresean Gore is one of those fighters that it's just kind of an up and down situation. And I don't know, from time to time, I'm not really sure which one we're going to see. I don't know. I know he had some health issues that he was talking about, and he's saying he's completely healthy, but I just feel like I can put more trust in Marco Tulio. I don't think this is going to be a situation where you're going to sub Marco Tulio. I think he's well skilled on the ground. If it gets there, I think he knows how to defend anything that you're going to put out to him. And I would look for him to be the one that actually is probably going to push the pace. And if you're talking about Tulio, the only time he's been finished, it was about 7 years ago, and that was by knockout. But again, Tresean Gore hasn't knocked anybody out in about 3 years himself, and he's just not that type of fighter. It doesn't seem like, not saying he doesn't have power, but it just doesn't seem to be translating to his octagon visits just yet. So I'm going to have to go with the side not only of experience, but I'm going to have to go with the side of just who I think is the better, more well-rounded fighter. But that experience is playing a big part of it. LFA is not a terrible organization to be coming from. So I'm going Marco Tulio in this one. I think this is going to be a fight that goes the distance. I don't think either one of these guys, if it's late, I could see a late finish by Tulio, but I don't necessarily think it's going to go that way. I think both of these can withstand. Tresean Gore tries to put on an early pace and sometimes ends up gassing later on in the rounds, and I kind of think that might happen again here. This could be an ugly fight if it gets to those later rounds, which I think it will. So we may see some sloppiness, but I think Tulio is going to win this one. But again, anything that goes to decision, you always have to wonder where the judges are going to see it, how they're going to judge it. And at this point, I don't trust the UFC judging. So be careful on a fight like this as well. But I'm going to take Tulio to win this one. Next fight. Next up, we got a flyweight match between Sumaderji taking on Mitch Raposo. This is going to be another one of those matchups that I think is pretty interesting to break down, honestly, because on one hand, you do have Sumaderji, who, in my opinion, is the better fighter out of these two. He's got more UFC experience, obviously. He's fought the higher level of competition than Mitch Raposo has. Mitch Raposo is sitting at that underdog status of plus 180, minus 218 for Sumaderji. The more I have gone through this, and at first I picked Mitch Raposo because I thought that maybe the aggressiveness that he brings to the table might be a factor in this. But listen, when you break this down a little bit more, Sumaderji 16-7, Mitch Raposo 9-2. Raposo, if you go back and look at some of the people that he's facing, they are not high level competition. And I believe, even though you did go to split decision with somebody like Andre Lima coming in, who we have seen it is just heads and tails above some of these other flyweights, and he's probably gonna go far in that division and do well. But you've got, when you're facing somebody like Sumaderji, who he's going to have a reach advantage, he's going to have a height advantage, and that reach advantage, he uses it different. Mitch Raposo is going to do a lot of back and forth movement, or at least that's what I kind of see when I watch tape, the back and forth movement, trying to confuse you. And he's not usually facing guys with this amount of reach and know how to use it. So even though Maderji's coming in off 3 losses, you're talking about people like Matt Schnell, Tim Elliott, and I can't remember the last one that he faced off the top of my head. But when you're talking about facing people like, Charles Johnson, he went to decision with Charles Johnson. Anytime you're doing that, you're continually getting better. He's 29 years old. Even though Mitch Raposo is a good fighter and he brings a lot to the table and he has skills on the ground, this is one of those fights that I think if you're on the Raposo side, you take the either submission or decision, because you're not knocking Sumaderji out. And the same with Sumaderji. I don't think he's going to knock Raposo out, but I do think that he can stay on the outside long enough, avoid the takedowns. He has about a 66% takedown defense, and he can get his own type takedowns as well, which I don't think that he's going to have to. I think those long straights that he's going to throw are going to be enough to keep Raposo out of the picture. I look for Maderji to get this done. I think that he's going to be the stronger fighter in this. So I'm doing a pick flip before it even comes out, because I think that this is probably, even though he's a 2-1 favorite, even though he's lost 3 matches, I think you're getting a discount there, because like I said, he is the more experienced fighter. It'll be interesting to see what Raposo does coming in off of the full camp, because I don't think he had a full camp the last time. I think that he was preparing for something completely different, and that will be the interesting aspect of it. Maderji has been subbed quite often. Mitch Raposo does have subs on his record, but his subs that he was looking at, you're talking about people that have no experience in the octagon either, or are just terrible, or they're ancient. They're like 50 years old, and I'm not exaggerating. So when you're talking about his wins and you're talking about his level of competition, it's very, very low compared to what Sumaderji's been competing against in the UFC. So I think this is a matchup that's going to be primed for Sumaderji to get back in the winners bracket. The more I look at it, I'm pretty highly confident that he can get this done. And I think it's going to be a striking contest. I do think it's one that'll go the distance, because like I said, I do think Mitch Raposo is pretty tough. So I'm taking Sumaderji by decision in this matchup. All right, next up in the prelims, we have a middleweight matchup between Cedricus Dumas and Michal Oleksiejczuk. Dumas comes in 10-2. Oleksiejczuk comes in 19-9. Dumas is sitting at the plus 164 underdog, minus 198 on the Oleksiejczuk side. This is a matchup that I honestly, I feel bad for Oleksiejczuk, because this guy has been thrown to the wolves. He's faced who's who of names here. Kevin Holland, Michelle Pereira, Magomed, Sharapov Magomed, Sharabullet, whatever the hell you want to call him, and Caio Borraiho. He's faced a who's who of people. He's lost. He had the win against Njokuani. It was his last win, I believe. Which that's not taking anything against him. Njokuani just won his last match, but in this particular match, I heard the last time he was in there, I remember them questioning whether or not he had kind of like the desire. And I don't think that he's actually training. And I am talking about Michal Oleksiejczuk right now, but I don't think that he's training at a particular gym. I think he might actually be training just with his friends, people that he knows. Last I heard, I don't know that he is with any particular affiliated gym. So Cedricus Dumas, I think he just continues to get a little bit better. He is coming off a win in his last performance, which, again, it wasn't what I would consider the greatest competition. I can't remember the exact name of the person. I'll look that up and just Dennis Tululian, which isn't the greatest win, but it is a win nonetheless. And I think this is going to be a matchup that it's a win or go home situation for either of these guys. So I look for them. If they want to stay, I look for it to be put out there. But in this particular instance, I kind of think that the fire's gone for Michelle Oleksiejczuk, and I kind of question what's going on there. Even though he's fought the higher level competition, he's fought the better competition as far as who he's had to go up against. I'm just not sure if it's still there for him. That's those are just the rumblings that I heard mentioned before his last matchup, that they weren't sure if he was going to continue or what it was. But this would be his 4th loss in a row. Dumas is coming off that win, but again, you got to pull out you got to pull out some strings of wins, especially when you've kind of had that up and down. But I think this is a matchup that, even though Dumas is the underdog right now, I think that 160 plus 164 is a little bit much for me. I'm gonna side with Cedricus Dumas. I think that this is a matchup that he can get done. I think I see him possibly getting pushed up against the fence. But the one thing that I wonder about, even though he doesn't have a huge height advantage, he's 6'2" to Oleksiejczuk at 6 foot, but he does have a 5-inch reach advantage, and he's shown some pretty decent movement as far as the stand-up goes. He has knockout power, and I think that he's probably wanting to get to the point where at first you see these people that come in that had the knockout power in the regional scene, they come in and they don't necessarily carry it over right away to the UFC, but then it starts gaining a little momentum. I think this is one of those that he can get the knockout here. He can also, I could see a rear naked choke being taken here too. So I think that he's got more ways to win. I think he's dangerous. I think Oleksiejczuk has got to make this dirty, and he sometimes gets a little bit lengthy when he's coming in, and he's going to be at a disadvantage reach-wise. I could see Dumas slipping and nailing him with a right cross, right hook, anything like that, left cross, left hook, something to that'll definitely flatline him, and then maybe grabbing his back and finishing it with a submission. I'm going to go Cedricus Dumas, and I'm going to go by decision. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to go by submission in this one. I think he can get it done, and I think he can finish it. I think it's going to be a little bit of a surprise, but I think that's the path to victory here for him. If he can get it to the ground, if he wants to, I think that's where I would go with this, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see what the odds are. Again, that's a long shot. Best thing I would say is fight does not go to the distance, because I don't think it's going to go all the way. I think both these guys are going to want to come out and prove something, especially on the Oleksiejczuk side. He's got to get that win. He's got to extend it. And Dumas, he's got a little less pressure on him, but I think that he is wanting a knockout as well. So knockout or finish of some type by Dumas is where I would probably go with that, just to be on the more safe side. But that's where I'm going. If you have not yet, please hit the like and subscribe button. Give me your comments. I want to know what is the most anticipated matchup for you in this upcoming UFC 314 card as we move right along. But like I said, hit the like and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the page. Let me know what you think I should add for next time, how it looks to you. But what we have next is another prelim matchup. This one's going to be good. We've got a featherweight matchup. We've got Darren Elkins taking on Julian Erosa. Plus 285 as the underdog for Elkins, minus 360 for Julian Erosa, 29-11 Darren Elkins record, 30-11 for Julian Erosa. Both these guys are very highly skilled, and both of them have multiple ways to win. Let me just start off by saying that. You do, on one hand, have a little bit of a reach advantage for Julian Erosa in this one. I believe it's 74 to 71 inches, so not too bad there. We do have Erosa, who is coming back from an 8-month layoff. Darren Elkins seems to always find himself in dogfights and wars and gets in there quite often. But he is coming off of his last matchup was Daniel Pineda. He had a unanimous decision there. TJ Brown before that one, but it's been a little bit for him too. Just a little, probably about the same amount of time. A little bit less for him. But we had Christian Rodriguez was the last matchup for Julian Erosa. He got a submission win there, and he subbed Ricardo Ramos as well. His last loss came against Fernando Padilla, who knocked him out with a right hook. And then before that, we had Alex Caceres, who knocked him out with head kick, which that's a little bit odd for Caceres to be getting the win by head kick there. But anyway, I'll move on to this matchup in particular. Look, when I look at this, at some point, Darren Elkins using his face as a punching bag and as his main weapon of defense is, I would say, going to take a toll on him. In this particular matchup, I think Julian Erosa, with the movement back and forth, is going to be a little bit too much. Darren Elkins is a dog. Julian Erosa, if he didn't have almost the same type of cardio, I would definitely be siding with Darren Elkins. But if you're not knocking Julian Erosa out, which a lot of power that Darren Elkins has, I think, is mostly gone. I think it's more a volume type game by him. And I'm not sure that Julian Erosa couldn't match you toe for toe right there. And I think that his movement and speed are going to be I think he's going to be faster. I think the movement side to side is going to be a little bit confusing for Darren Elkins to get a beat on him. He's going to have to rush in, and he's going to have to pin him up against the fence and get takedowns, where at that point Julian Erosa has some pretty decent skills on the ground, and he's obviously training over at Extreme Couture. So you have to think that he's got some wrestling skills as well, which he's shown in the past, and he's got the jiu-jitsu to go along with it. Not saying that Darren Elkins doesn't. He does have submissions on his record. But I think with me, it's more of an age thing in this one. There's a 5-year age gap. Julian Erosa is at least closer to that midpoint where he's more in his prime. He's, I believe his layoff is going to be actually good for him, just kind of reboot. And I think it's always good for fighters to do that. Darren Elkins, on the other hand, he's, like I said, he's taken a lot of damage over his career. And this could be a fight that he takes a lot more, because Julian Erosa definitely has skills on the feet as well. I think this is a matchup that's tailor-made for Julian Erosa to be a confuser on the feet for Elkins, and I think that he's going to outvolume him as well, just due to the fact that it's a little bit harder to get a beat on Erosa and pin him down. So no matter where this fight goes, I still have quite a bit of confidence that Julian Erosa can get this done. Obviously, the odds, I don't want to touch it, because I never want to go against a fighter like Elkins at plus 285, especially. You're talking about 3-1. I don't think it's that big of a spread here, and I'm not really willing to put anything towards that. So, like I said, I don't have a lot of bets on this as of yet, but I'm waiting on some of these odds. They're not really going the way that I thought, and I've done this before where I wait too long. The ones that I thought are going to keep progressing in towards where it's not in my favor anymore, I did go ahead and put some in. So obviously I'm going to give you those at the end of this, but I'm going to pick Julian Erosa in this matchup. I think he can get it done. I think, like I said, I think at this point in his career, he's got the same amount. He's got the same skill sets. He's good exactly where Darren Elkins is. I think it's, like I said, it's going to be the straight up little bit of reach that he has, the confusion in the stand-up, and the fact that he's got ground skills, he's got stand-up skills, and I think that speed and age are going to be a factor in this one. So I'm going to go Julian Erosa. I think he wins this by decision, because it's hard to get Darren Elkins out of there unless you're going to choke him out, and then at that point, you're going to have to let him go out because he's not going to tap. So my pick, Julian Erosa for this. All right, here we go. Next up, a lightweight matchup between Jim Miller and Chase Hooper. Miller right now is sitting at the unbelievable plus 500, and Hooper is a minus 700. Jim Miller, 38-18. Chase Hooper, 15-3-1. I don't agree with the odds in this. Let me just start by saying that anytime you have a veteran who knows how to play the game, has had as many fights that Jim Miller has had, a plus 500, it's almost you almost have to take aim at something like that just a little bit and think to yourself, even a small bet on that, it might be worth it, just for the simple fact that Chase Hooper, even though he has been looking impressive lately, he's fought some decent competition here. Clay Guida everybody I think kind of saw that one coming, the submission win there. We got Vyacheslav Borshev, who he beat by submission. We've got Jordan Levitt, who he beat by submission, which that's impressive because they're both BJJ experts there. And Nick Fiore, and his last loss was to Steve Garcia, which Steve Garcia is pretty tough. That's not a terrible win. He just kind of, I mean, you're talking about that was 2.5 years ago now. So you're also talking about kind of a different fighter at that point, somebody young in the game. Now he's had some fights under his belt. I think, to me, I don't want to bet this fight. This is not one I'm going to touch because Jim Miller can pull things out of his hat. And I think he's always live to get a finish, to be quite honest with you. And Chase Hooper has proven that he can take a punch, but he does get hit. So his stand-up skills, though, are starting to get a little bit better. I think he's starting to look better. I think that his overall game, he's just going to keep improving, and he does have a major height advantage here coming into this one. He is a very, very tall lightweight. He makes weight pretty decently, though, and I think if it does go to the ground, where, to me, Miller has to get it to the ground, because I think he's going to leave himself open. And the stand-up that Hooper's been bringing has been a little bit better. It's been getting better and better, so he's training it. Jim Miller, on the other hand, we know what he brings, and the leg kicks are going to be a thing Hooper's going to have to get past. But if it goes to the ground, Hooper is always live due to the simple fact he's got long legs. He's subbed some major players already, and I think that he could probably get it done if Miller and him go to the ground too. So even though I don't want to bet this one minus 700 and a plus 500, unless I'm going dog or pass, I don't see the value in this, and I'm not sure that Hooper would get this done. I think if you're going to bet it, it would probably have to be Hooper by decision or submission. Either way, I think Hooper wins this matchup, so I am going to take him, but at the same time, I'm not going to feel comfortable by betting this in any way at this point unless I can get decent odds on one of the props. But I'm going to stick with Hooper as my bet, even though I hate betting against Jim Miller. He can always pull something out. But another thing that I do not like is the fact that he is get up there in age, 41 years old, and not to mention, it's not so much the age with him because he hasn't fought that long ago. It's more the simple fact that he's fought 3 times in a year. This will be his 3rd fight this year. And at that age, I think those training camps take a toll on you. I think everything mixed together is going to start taking a toll on his body. And Hooper, even though, yes, this is his 3rd time as well fighting this year, I don't think it's going to take as big of a toll on a 25-year-old as it does a 42-year-old. So I'm going to go Chase Hooper in this one. I don't like the odds, like I said, again, because Jim Miller's got that grittiness, that toughness. So I'm going to go Chase Hooper, but don't want to bet this one as of right now. Staying away from it. Next, we have another prelim match. We've got in the women's strawweight division, Xiaonan Yan taking on Virna Jandiroba. I'm going with the underdog in this one. I'm going with Yan. I think that, and also 19-4 record, Virna Jandiroba. Man, I'm just messing up these names completely on this one. 21-3 record, minus 148 for Virna, and plus 124 for Yan. This is the way that I see this matchup going. I think Yan has the skills in order to fight off the takedowns. Maybe not all of them, but I do think that she training a Team Alpha Male, and that they're constantly going to be working on this, because that's Jandiroba's way to win, is to get this to the ground and ultimately either control it on the ground as long as you possibly can, or get the submission, which she's always going to be dangerous for submissions. Yan, on the other hand, I feel like the best method for her is to go for her own takedowns. Try and get this to the ground yourself, and I think that she's got the capability to do it. I don't know if that's going to be the game plan. Obviously, I don't know if that's in the works, but what I can tell you is that she is going to have a little bit of a height advantage here, about a 2-inch height advantage, not a reach advantage, but I think that she is going to be, I think she's going to have the speed advantage. I think she is the better striker, in my opinion, out of the two. And I think that once you're talking about somebody that is having to totally work and work and work for takedowns and not getting them over and over again, I think later in rounds is when Jan is going to end up taking this. I don't think it's going to be a finish. I think this one's going to go the distance. Both these women are very tough, but I think that Virna is going to, I think she's going to run out of steam. I don't think she's really faced somebody that can stuff all of her takedowns the way that they should. And the ones that she has, it's been closer matchups than you would think. The one against Lupe Godinez kind of is the outlier. Yes, she did have a couple takedowns, but I think that was more the fault of Lupe just not sticking to the game plan. In this one, I don't think that's going to be the case with Jan. She trains with high-level wrestlers over at Team Alpha Male, and I think that she's going to know how to, one, stuff all the takedowns that are coming her way, and if she doesn't stuff the takedowns, I think she's going to be able to get up pretty quick. So I'm going to take Xiaonan Yan. I cannot pronounce that name right now. I'm going to take Yan in this one. And I'm going to hope for the best. That 124, I think, is a good number. I think it's right around that, and I think it's actually going to probably go a little bit better if you're looking at betting Jan, or whichever side you're on. Basically, I think this fight it could get a little bit closer as far as the odds go. So I'm going to side with Jan in this one. I think she can get this done. So I'm going with. Next up, we have the featured fight of the prelims. We have a featherweight matchup between Dan Ige and Sean Woodson. Dan Ige sitting at the plus 130 underdog. Sean Woodson minus 155. He's the favorite right now. Dan Ige 18-9 record coming in. Sean Woodson 13-1-1. He does have a little win streak going, about a 4-fight win streak going there so far. He did have that split decision draw with Luis Saldana before that. Could have gone either way. Obviously, the judges saw it that way too. Dan Ige is obviously the one that stepped in on short notice to face Diego Lopes with about 4 hours notice, which is, I don't think, ever been done, and took him to decision, which now we're starting to see how good Lopes is, and that was quite a feat. But this is a different matchup, and I'm just going straight on this matchup, and there are no favorites here. But I personally, I'm not a huge Sean Woodson fan. I'm not a big Dan Ige fan, but I can't ignore this size difference, the 5'7" to 6'2" size advantage that Sean Woodson's going to have, in the 7-inch reach advantage. Dan Ige, he's a wild man sometimes. He kind of leaves himself out there a little bit, and I think that Sean Woodson, his skills play perfectly against Dan Ige, because Dan Ige is going to have to do something to get inside. He's going to have to overexert himself, and he's going to have to reach. And I think that the reaching is going to be where he's going to get in trouble. I can see Sean Woodson completely sticking him with that jab. If Dan Ige isn't able to get inside and get this to the ground, where he may have the advantages there, but Sean Woodson is good at takedown defense. He's hard to get down to the ground, and when you do, he's hard to keep there. So I'm not necessarily sure that that's going to be the best method for him to get this done as well. As much as I don't necessarily like it, just due to the fact that Sean Woodson, I don't feel, has fought the kind of caliber of opponents that Dan Ige has, but I cannot get around the size advantage, like I said, and the boxing abilities that Sean Woodson is going to bring to the table. He's good at stand-up. He's good at takedown defense, and I think Ige is going to have to, like I said, work a little bit too hard in order to get it where he needs it to be, and I think that that's going to be the major disadvantage for him here. Woodson's not going to knock Ige out, and if there's going to be a knockout, I do think it's going to be on Ige's side, but like I said, Woodson is good at stand-up, and it's going to be tough for him to deal with the movement and deal with the length, and I just don't see this going. I don't see this being a fight that finishes inside the distance, so I would definitely look at that over 2.5 in this one. But if I'm picking a side, I'm going to say Sean Woodson. I'm going to wait and see where the line moves on this one. Like I said, I'm only interested right now in about 3 of these fights, so I'll point those out to you, obviously, but this to me is one of those toss-ups. I think it's going to get a little bit closer. So if you're waiting to bet on Sean Woodson, I might wait just a little bit longer, because people are going to hit Dan Ige just due to the competition levels. But like I said, I think this is one that Sean Woodson has got. I think just due to the striking abilities and the fact that he's a very durable opponent as well. And he's going to be tough to get out of there. And I don't think Ige is going to have the power to do it. And I don't think the submissions are going to be there as well. So if he can ground and pound, maybe, but I don't see it. I don't even see it getting to the ground. So I think it's his total stand up. And I think Sean Woodson's got all the advantages there. We'll move right along. All right, here we go. We are kicking off the UFC 314 main card. And we're kicking it off with a great fight. This is going to be a light heavyweight matchup between Nikita Krylov and Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes right now sitting at the plus 164 underdog, minus 198 on the Nikita Krylov side. 30-9 record for Krylov, 14-4 for Dominic Reyes. So obviously Krylov has the experience edge there. The one thing that I will say is it's been 2 years since he's been in the octagon. Well, I will also follow that up by telling you that it was also 2 years since Dominic Reyes has been in the octagon, and he came out and got a win against Dustin Jacoby, which at the time I was picking Dustin Jacoby. So again, that's not something that I'm going to weigh heavily on. And if you're into the MMA math, Dominic Reyes lost to Ryan Spann, Nikita Krylov subbed Ryan Spann. So just to give you a little MMA math there, Dominic Reyes' last couple wins against Anthony Smith, how much are you going to put behind a win against Anthony Smith, knowing that he is kind of at the end of his career? We're not seeing any changes there. Dustin Jacoby, again, that was a good win. You came in on that 2-year layoff. Nikita Krylov is coming in on that 2-year layoff. And when I look at this matchup, I don't see either of these guys trying to get a lot of takedowns. That's just, it hasn't been Dominic Reyes' game plan throughout his career. So if he all of a sudden changes it up, I would definitely be surprised. Nikita Krylov, if anybody's going to get a takedown, I honestly think it's more so favoring his side than it would be Dominic Reyes, for the simple fact that I think he's got advantages there if it does go. I think that he has been subbed, and it's always a possibility. But again, Dominic Reyes, that's really not been a part of his game plan. It's usually a all-out war when he fights. He's going to try and outstrike you. And he's not saying that he is a bad striker by any means. He is a very talented striker. But Nikita Krylov, I just think, is going to be a little bit ahead of him. I don't think there's any speed advantages here. I think it's more of a precision precision, I think, and volume. I think that Krylov is going to go tit for tat, and I think that they're going to both hit each other. But I just trust Krylov's chin a little bit more. He hasn't been knocked out like Reyes has. Reyes has faced the tougher competition. He's lost to the tougher competition, but he has faced the tougher competition. So I don't know. I'm not going to put a lot of stock in that anymore, because just because you fought the best doesn't mean anything if you still, been getting your ass whipped by the best. So I'm going to take it for what it is. I think Nikita Krylov can get this done, even though I don't like the layoff. I'm going to wait and see what these betting lines again. Some of these are really close. So I am siding with Nikita Krylov. I think he can get this done. I think he's got advantages wherever it goes. I think he can keep it standing, and at that range, I think if he hammers away at the front leg, I think he can possibly get the upper hand there, slow Reyes down even more, and get maybe a late round finish. I could see that happening, but ultimately, I think this is one of those bangers. Not sure it goes the distance. I don't think it goes the distance, honestly. I think Krylov gets it done in the later rounds, but I am siding with Nikita Krylov to get it done in the main card open. Next up, we have a fighter making his UFC debut, not his MMA debut by any means. A featherweight matchup between Yair Rodriguez and Patricio Freire, better known as Patricio Pitbull, if you know him from the Bellator days. He does have some gold attached to his name over in Bellator. I'm not positive, but I think he was a 2-weight champion in Bellator. I think he was featherweight and lightweight, possibly. He's coming in against Yair Rodriguez. It's not an easy matchup to be coming in and making your UFC debut against. Yair Rodriguez is minus 198 as the favorite right now. I think that's going to get worse as we get closer to fight week. Plus 164 on the Patricio Freire side. 19-5 Yair Rodriguez, 36-7 for Patricio Freire. He is 37 years old. Yair is 32. Yair is going to have a height advantage. Yair is going to have a reach advantage. Patricio has fought some decent competition. I'm not going to slight his competition, but it's Bellator type competition. And I am in no way, shape, or form going to try and compare Bellator competition to UFC competition. I think it's in a whole world of different realms there. So I'm not putting any stock as far as the opponents. I don't even think there's a measurable opponent there between the two of them that I can say. The one thing that I will say is the two opponents that have had some UFC experience or other organizational experience, he has lost to. He did lose to a guy that was fighting out of the Reason organization, and he did lose to Sergio Pettis, which is Anthony Pettis' younger brother, and he ended up losing to him. So he was UFC caliber, okay? He fought many opponents in the UFC and then went on to Bellator and became a champion there. And I believe that he took the belt from Patricio Ferreri. I can't go against Yair Rodriguez in this one. I'm sticking with the UFC side. I just think he's fought better competition. Not that it all comes down to that, but when you're Yair Rodriguez is a striker, and I think that the advantages that he has are just being able to keep it at range, being able to keep it in striking distance. He's shown that he has the ability to keep it on the feet. At most instances, he's going to get taken down, but if he does, he's always going to be working towards getting back up, or he's got the submissions under his belt as well. He could always shoot us for a submission, but I just think he's a better fighter in this matchup. He's got the advantages, I think, experience-wise as well. Sometimes you might get those UFC jitters in the beginning, so I am going to side with Yair Rodriguez. I'm actually hoping this thing goes the other way because right now it is moving up at I think it was a minus 200 last time I saw. So I think it's going to continue to go up. So if you're betting Yair Rodriguez or you're going to put him in a parlay, I like him as a parlay piece this week, but I would grab him now if you're going to put in a single bet so you can get the best odds you can. But at 2-1, I don't think it's a bad bet. He's fought some high-level competition, Max Holloway, Brian Ortega. When you're losing to people like that, I'm not going to hold that too much against you. Volkanovski, he was obviously able to take him down. I don't think Ferreri is on the same level as Volkanovski. So I think Yair Rodriguez gets this done. I don't think it's a finish. Ferreri's tough. So I'm going to say this goes the distance and Rodriguez wins by decision. All right, we are finally here. We are to the matches that I've been talking about the whole time, the ones that I am looking the most forward to. We have a main card event. We're going with, here it is, Bryce Mitchell and Gene Silva in a featherweight matchup. Right now, Bryce Silva plus 270, minus 340 for Gene Silva. 17-2 for Bryce Mitchell, 15-2 on the Silva side. I won't hide it. I'm not a fan of Bryce Mitchell. I never have been, and it's not due to the stuff that he's just recently brought to light and said. That is not what I'm talking about. I've never really been a fan of this guy. I don't know. He just kind of wears on my last nerve, but I'm looking at this strictly from a fighting perspective. And I will tell you that I did not pick Gene Silva in the last matchup. I picked against him. Okay. I was not on the Gene Silva side. I didn't think that he was going to get that match. I didn't think he was going to be the matchup that he won. I thought Melsik Bagdasaryan was going to end up being the better striker in that matchup, but he proved me wrong, and I am in no way, shape, or form against calling it the way it is. I was wrong, and Gene Silva looks like he may be the real deal. This is going to be a different matchup, okay? This is going to be the typical shooting for your legs, diving. He's going to constantly be having to deal with takedowns, and it is a little bit worrisome. I'm not going to lie, because Bryce Mitchell has the ability to make this a very, very difficult night for Gene Silva. But I'm siding with Gene Silva. Okay. Straight up. I really am interested to see how he handles the pressure that Mitchell's going to bring with the takedowns. I do think that even if he does get taken down, that he's going to be able to jump right back up. And I think that when he does land, he's going to land hard. And I think Mitchell is going to be in the same type situation that he was in when he faced Emmett. I think he's going to be hit hard. Gene Silva is definitely motivated to get this win. He knows the things that have been said, and he's not liking them too much. So I think this is a featherweight banger. I think Gene Silva can get this done. I'm hoping that Gene Silva can get this done. I don't have a lot. We're not having a lot riding on this just yet, but I'm still looking at it. It's one of the matches that I would I'm thinking about putting in a parlay. Might have a huge parlay with it, but right now we don't have any double parlays or anything like that. So I am on the Gene Silva side completely. I love the Fighting Nerds. I love what they got going on over there. So I'm a Fighting Nerds fan. Gene Silva's seemingly leading the way. So we'll see how that featherweight title fight goes with that vacant title fight coming up. But Gene Silva, if he wins this matchup against Bryce Mitchell and he does it in spectacular fashion with a knockout, I could definitely see him being the next in line for a title shot. So he's motivated. I'm going to take him. I think he gets it done. But that minus 340, it has gone a little bit better. I think it was minus 325 the last I looked. So maybe wait just a little bit longer, because I can guarantee you that people are going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to hit Bryce Mitchell. So this is a fight. I'm going to wait till the very end. And if Bryce Mitchell gets a couple takedowns, this is a perfect live betting perspective, because Gene Silva, if he's still got the power within him, he can do it later on in the rounds and get the knockout. He carries power throughout the round. So it's always going to be live, but Mitchell's going to be tough to beat. It's going to be tough to get out of there, but I think Silva can get this done by decision. I think it's also one of those that if it's close, I think it's going Silva's way, because I don't think people, and I don't think the UFC in particular, likes Mitchell anymore. And I think they will use any excuse to get him out. And I don't think they're past slipping it to one of the officials and maybe giving a little extra advantage. So I'm taking Gene Silva in this matchup. I have no knowledge of any of this taking place, by the way, but I'm taking Gene Silva. We have finally reached the co-main event of the evening. We have a lightweight matchup. Michael Chandler taking on Paddy Pimblett. Plus 130 on the Chandler. For Chandler is the underdog right now, minus 155 for Pimblett. 23-9 record on Chandler's side, 22-3 for Pimblett. I have my doubts about Pimblett. I definitely did when he was coming in. And when Chandler came in, I thought that he may come into the UFC and make waves. Since then, he's proven that it goes along with everything that I've been saying that I just said not too long ago about the Bellator fights. He's fought some high-level competition in Bellator, and when he came over here, he did have some wins. He's been competitive, but the people that he's winning against, I don't put much stock in him. Paddy Pimblett beat Ferguson. Yes, Chandler knocked Ferguson out with a once-in-a-lifetime teep kick to the face that I don't think he's going to ever be able to land again. I don't think if they fought again that he would land it again. So I'm not going to side with Chandler here. I can't. I am fully in on the Paddy Pimblett side. I think he is better than he originally got credit for. I think he is dangerous no matter where this goes. If he wants to take it to the ground, I think that he can get it there eventually, and he's going to be a submission threat. And I wouldn't be surprised if Chandler, just to prove that he is the better wrestler, which maybe he does have the advantages as far as getting it to the ground, but I think if he does take it to the ground, he's going to be in trouble. I think Pimblett has the submission skills to get this done. So I'm going to say that Pimblett's not going to be, I don't think he's going to be looking to get him out of there with stand-up. I just don't think that's his game plan for this one. I think Pimblett holds the advantages, crawling on the back and taking his back and making it a nightmare night for him. I think he's holding the advantages in the jiu-jitsu side. If Chandler tries to take it down, I think Paddy can get it back to the feet if he has to. And otherwise, I think that if they do stand, I think he's still got advantages there too. I think he's the faster striker. He does get hit a lot, which Chandler does too. So I think it's neck and neck. And Paddy said you can't knock a Scouser out. So let's go Paddy in this one. I'm in on the Paddy side. I think he gets it done. So we'll see how this goes. And I'm very interested in this fight because I think that minus 155 is a great price for Pimblett, and it's going to continue to. I think it'll go up by the time the fight rolls around. Chandler also just had a baby. Keep that in mind. He just took a little time out of his camp that he's 2 weeks out from fight camp to go visit his newborn child in the hospital. That's just a tidbit of information. His mind might be somewhere else for a little bit, but it may be a motivating factor as well. Pimblett's a daddy too, so hey, we'll see how it goes come fight night. But I'm on the Pimblett side in this one, and I do have a bet in, so we'll see. That brings us to the main event. We have a featherweight championship match for the vacant title in the featherweight division, since Ilia Topuria has decided to vacate the title and move on up to the lightweight division. Now we've got Alexander Volkanovski, the former champion, taking on Diego Lopes. Alexander Volkanovski, minus 148. He's coming in with a 26-4 record. Diego Lopes, plus 124. He is the dog right now with the 26-6 record. Alexander Volkanovski is 36 years old. He is coming off the 2 losses, one to Makhachev, and then the other one, obviously, to Topuria, both knockouts in those fights. We have Lopes, who is on a little bit of that streak right now. He's on that five-fight win streak right now. He's fought the likes of, he obviously lost his first fight when he came in on short notice against Movsar Evloev, which, as we can see, that's not that big of a loss right there. He fought Gavin Tucker to begin with. That's not that big of a deal. He beat Sabatini, which we're seeing Sabatini has some skills on the ground this weekend. He beat Sadiq Yosef. He also took out Dan Ige, which that was a short notice for Ige. I get that. He still beat him. Brian Ortega, he also beat him. So he has worked his way up, and I'm a fan. Okay. I know that Volkanovski has been the former champion. He's defended many, many times, but I just think at some point you have a changing of the guard, and I think this is the changing of the guard. I'm taking Diego Lopes in this fight. Listen, I love Alexander Volkanovski. Huge fan. I'm also a huge fan of Diego Lopes. I like both of these fighters, but I think in this particular matchup, I just think that Volkanovski has kind of seen the better times in his career. He's always motivated to win, but I just think as time goes on and he gets a little bit older, being that 36 years old, and we also know that in the featherweight division, I believe there's only been 2 times that a champion has either won or defended his belt over the age of 35. And that doesn't sit well when you're facing a fighter who is coming in. He's going to be the bigger fighter. He's going to have size advantages. And he's got skills on the ground like Ortega. And he's also got toughness that I don't think Ortega had. And even though Diego Lopes can be hittable, I think it's going to be a little bit of a reach there. And I think it's going to be difficult for Volkanovski to get it where he needs to get it to feel comfortable. Grappling skills, to me, Lopes has the grappling skills. This is going to be a dogfight. I think this is a fight that is going to go into the later rounds. I would say if I'm calling a finish, I think it's going to be a late round finish or later rounds finish, maybe 4 or 5. But I ultimately see this fight going the distance. I think this is one of those perfect examples of a fighter getting knocked out twice and looking to prove something. So I think Volkanovski is going to come in motivated. I think he's going to be able to at least do what he has to do in order to keep this competitive. And I think that in the end, though, like I said, I'm siding with Diego Lopes, the younger fighter, the fresher fighter. I think that the hunger is definitely in him. I think that the want and the need to provide is going to be on his side. I'm going Diego Lopes as the underdog in this fight. That is my breakdown of this full card for you. Now let's get to a couple of these bets that I've got in right now, and we'll break these down. Okay, I'll tell you right now, these bets are going to be a risk in some way, shape, or form, but I feel pretty confident that these people get this done. Here's where I'm going, and if you want the reasons, watch what I've given before. And if you have not, please already, before I give these out, hit the like and subscribe. And we do this every week. We come on here, give our picks, our best bets, our predictions, and I kind of lay it out, win or lose. It doesn't matter. It's all about putting out that content out there. You make up your own mind how you're going to go with these, but I'm just giving you my opinions. And I've been doing this for quite a long time, where I've been watching these fights on a pretty regular basis. So take it for what it is. But here is my first bet. We went ahead and put in the Paddy Pimblett bet. I took the money line. I've got him at minus 162 on DraftKings. This may be a stretch for some people. It's really not for me. I think this is a good bet. I think that he gets this done. I think he's better on the feet. He maybe not better on the feet, but I think that he's got the ability to bang. And I think that if it goes to the ground, he's got definite finishing abilities on the ground with his jiu-jitsu. So I'm going to take Paddy on the money line. Again, these are 1-unit bets, so do with them what you may. Do your own homework, decide if you like him or not. But I'm going to go Paddy Pimblett money line, minus 162. DraftKings is going to be my first bet. Next up, I have a 2-leg parlay. Again, I'm going back to the well here. Paddy Pimblett and Diego Lopes money lines. put those together, we got plus 262 on DraftKings. Again, this is a 1-unit play, more than double your return on that. And I like both of these guys, again, for the reasons that I mentioned in the video. I like Lopes on that money line. I don't have any, as far as the opening of, what am I trying to say here? Bets, like, putting them together as far as their winning method or anything like that. I don't have that availability right now, or round lines or anything like that. So we'll see how that goes when those drop, and I may have some more. But plus 262 on DraftKings, Pimblett and Lopes. I think both these guys get this done. And I'm kind of dependent on you guys. Pump it through. Next one I have, I'm switching this up a little bit. I'm also taking Diego Lopes money line at plus 124 on DraftKings, putting a single bet on him. So if these all pay off, that's great. We hit on all three and we've clean swept. This is the way I'm going for my bets for right now. I'll try and update this as much as possible this week. We'll hopefully get on some shorts, get those out there. But that is my breakdown. I hope you have enjoyed. If you haven't already, like I said, hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what your most anticipated fight is and who you're picking in these, at least these last three matchups. Those are the most interesting to me. Can't wait to see how these turn out. Thank you for sticking with us through all of this, and I look forward